Now, the Empress card in tarot symbolises many qualities that we associate with femininity, and yet this is a very different aspect to those qualities that we explored within the High Priestess in the previous video. So let's have a look at a few different examples of the Empress to explore her main messages and the things that we can learn from the Empress. Hello there and welcome to another video from my tarot series where we are exploring the meanings of the cards using different depictions and the artwork that can help us unlock some of the key meanings. Today it's the turn of the Empress, but before we get going, please do drop a comment below to say which are some of your favourite Empress cards and which decks they come from. So how is the Empress and the High Priestess different? Both depicting qualities associated with feminine energies. Last week we explored how the High Priestess helps us to explore the feminine qualities of intuition and emotional landscapes, whereas the Empress is the physical aspects of femininity. She is very much embodied in the earth, and with that comes fertility, abundance, very much rooted in nature, as if she is Mother Nature herself. Therefore, we can consider our Empress perhaps as the Green Mother or Green Woman, who is of course the counterpart to the pagan deity, if you like, the Green Man. The Forest of Enchantment Tarot and the Celtic Spirit Tarot have chosen to depict the Empress as. So this idea of a female energy that has evolved out of the earth itself, embracing all of the greenery and abundance that the earth has to offer. And in this example, she appears to be made quite literally out of earthly materials such as the leaves of the tree, and she is so much of the earth that even her skin is green, reflecting the greenery of the leaves that cover her. And in a similar vein, Chris Ann has, from the Lightseers Tarot, has depicted our Empress as quite possibly the Greek goddess Gaia, who here is giving birth to the earth itself. Now, interestingly, one of the cards connected to the Empress card is the World, where any new birth means that there is a new beginning. And of course, in the sequence of the major arcana, once we reach the World, we have completed something and we are ready to start the next phase, and so we find ourselves back at the full stage. She sat in this very comfortable looking seat, which is covered in throws and cushions. The landscape behind her is in full swing of summer, and when we think about the qualities of summer, we think of growth, flowers being in bloom, abundance. And this idea of abundance is picked up at the front here with the grasses or the wheat growing at her feet. When we think of the abundance offered to us by the Empress, it is also a place of beauty. And this Empress card from MJ Cullinane's Enchanted for Haxa Tarot is really inviting us to maybe step away from perhaps materialistic abundance and to acknowledge the everyday abundance that we could experience if we only stopped, paused, and took notice of the natural world. And this is a much more holistic abundance where we are engaging and maybe reconnecting with our more natural selves, where we can find delight in the beautiful flowers that are open or the details of a pine cone, and kind of nourishing our mind with a different type of abundance rather than chasing after materialistic gains. And when we find that type of abundance, we can find a sense of calm and peace. This message from the Empress is important because when we can find inner peace and we can acknowledge everyday beauty, we are in a greater position to then be there for other people and to nourish their needs. The Empress is a symbol or representation for fertility, and many believe that her loose garments may be there to cover up her pregnant belly. So this is also connected to motherhood, but also it could be the birth of a creative project or maybe a business or an idea. Doesn't have to be necessarily an actual birth. Now, what could be more fitting to help us remind that aspect of the Empress than this mother cat here, keeping a careful eye on her litter of kittens, happily playing in her abundant garden. And this card comes from the Tarot of Pagan Cats deck. And it's also worth noting, in the previous card we were looking at, we have the two hares here. And for those of you that are maybe into your animal folklore, you will be, of course, aware that hares are also linked to fertility. And with fertility, motherhood, bringing a creative project to life, we become a nurturer, which has been beautifully depicted by Ari Weisner's Transient Light Tarot Empress card. This very simple but highly symbolic image of a clam protecting its pearl from the watery elements that the pearl is going to be growing up in the bottom of the sea. We can draw upon this idea that perhaps we are protecting something to allow it to grow, or perhaps we need to find a mentor with Empress-like qualities to help us grow, or perhaps there's somebody that we know that may require us to support them in a nurturing way. A friend that is maybe going through a tough time and they just need gentle Empress guidance. With fertility, of course, comes procreation and the Empress's earthly embodiment, that is her sensuality, that helps to drive forward her need to create, whether that is creating and bringing children into the world or to bring creative projects into the world. Pamela Coleman-Smith included the symbol of Venus here on her shield, which taps into this idea of love and creativity. Now this is quite a primordial creative energy, and in order to help our Empress create, she needs to have a creative spark. And so we have this Empress card from the Magical Hours Tarot, where our Empress is carrying a flame as she wanders through her beautiful and abundant garden, where presumably she is going to create her magic and bring her world into being. So in reverse, the Empress may indicate perhaps lack of abundance or financial issues, disharmony in the home, or perhaps some kind of creative block. And so I've selected the Empress card from the Hush Tarot by Jeremy Hush. As you can see, this is going in a very different direction to the other Empress cards that we've looked at. To me, this Empress is lacking many of the things that we have discussed in the previous Empress cards that we've looked at. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of welcoming in abundance, not really creativity, unless you consider the feathers that she is collecting here. Maybe she's going to create something with that. But the thing that strikes me the most about this image is this twine that is being wrapped around her by the bee. And we said that when in reverse, it could be to do with a creative block or kind of financial insecurity or problems at home. And to me, it feels like she's starting to feel a little bit trapped. She's not being the flourishing or abundant or sensual Empress that the Empress card really does invite us to invoke. So yeah, like she's restrained and she kind of wants to break free of that, or she needs to break free of that in order to fulfill the upright attributes of this card. Now, for me, the Empress card is all about taking time out, reconnecting with nature and allowing nature to inspire kind of your authentic self and your creativity and how you want to express yourself. And so when I was designing the Empress card, which is my character, Madam Whiskers the Bearded Lady, I very much wanted to take her out of the big top and have her situated in a natural environment, which you can see is inspiring her to paint her painting on the easel. The abundance aspect of the card is represented by the wheat, so in that respect I have kept it very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. But where my design differs slightly is I opted to have the Empress surrounded by some of the kitten characters, which represents this idea of kind of mothering and nurturing. So she's taken the kittens in training out for the day and to give them a little bit of playtime and a bit of time out in a natural environment. She's not necessarily pregnant, although I did realise the other day, if you can see, she has a kitten silhouette cameo on her dress, which was part of the original doll design. She is very much inspired by that kind of Victorian aesthetic, but I did think that that kitten symbol on her kind of stomach chest area could be symbolic of a pregnancy for those people that might be using the cards in that way for that type of reading. My intention is that if one receives this card in a reading, it may be a gentle call to action to encourage people to take a step out of their everyday life and to just maybe go out and experience a little bit of joy, experience some healing and nourishment that you might find when you step into a more natural environment. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the Empress card with me, and if you found that helpful, please give it a cheeky like, and of course comment about your experience with the Empress card, your favourite example, and if there's anything I have missed which you think is important about the meaning of this card. I'm sure that people reading will find that helpful. If it was helpful, then you can always subscribe to my channel for more content like this, and share it with others who you may think will find this helpful. And if you haven't done so already, you can check out other videos from this series here. I'm Sally, this is my channel, Vaudeville Manor, House of Art and Tarot. Until the next time, sending you much love. Bye bye.